Welcome to Woodturning. In honor of St. Patrick's Day, we're going to turn a shamrock.
Tim's American Beauty was made by Robust Tools, America's premier lathe manufacturer. Quality hardened tool rests and live centers too. Robust. Built to turn wood. Enjoyed for a lifetime.
Easy Wood Tools, best in class carbide wood turning tools. There's not too much green wood out there, color-wise, so picking the right piece of wood for this is really important. You want something with a really nice pattern, and this is quilted ambrosia maple. It's kind of hard to find, but it is beautiful, and you can buy it in 2-inch thick boards for a really relatively cheap price. And you can see our shape here. We didn't finish the back or anything, but it looks cool, right? Well, so on this piece I have to consider some stuff. I want my pattern to be in the best part, right? So you can look here, and here's some of the ambrosia, the staining marks, and I don't have any really on this side that's much, so I will consider this to be the top. So I'm going to want to mount this, not like this, but I'm going to mount it like this on the lathe, because we want to turn a tenon on the bottom, so this thing will be sitting like this in there. We're going to put a tenon on the bottom on this end, so then we can mount this in a chuck. I do want to take a second and thank our sponsors, Robust Lathes and Easy Wood Tools, because without their support we wouldn't have this show. But I also want to thank you guys for subscribing so I can buy new teeth. No, but because we do these shows for you, and I'm really glad you're there watching them. And without you watching, what fun would this be, right? Well, talk about fun. I've never showed you how to turn a tenon on a flat piece of wood before, have I? Tell you the truth, I hadn't done one before until a couple of weeks ago. So what we're going to do is we're going to use the Easy Wood tool. I'm taking a square cutter here, and we're going to go in this way. This is spindle turning, so my grain's running this way, so this is a lot easier than having the grain coming like a bowl. That'd be chunky. So we're going to turn this on, put my mask down, and bring our speed up. You can see we have a lot of air in there. There's a lot of stuff you can't see, so you have to be very careful beginning this cut. We just want to come in and take a little nibble and just gently push in, like so. You just have to be very straight and very secure on your hold here, and you're going to go down till you start getting just to the wood. You only want to make a tenon of about 1/4 of an inch, but I'm going to sneak up to this thing. Now we're starting to hang out quite a bit on here, so we have to be careful. And I'm coming in from the side now. You can see this technique. So I need a tenon that's a little bit less than 1/2 inch for my chuck. So we'll look at that and see we got a little flat spot there, a little flat spot there. That means I centered this really well, so I'm not wasting any wood. It'll help us a lot with our symmetry. So I'm close enough. Now I'm going to go a little deeper because I want a lip on there. Let me get that done. So we'll sneak up again. That should work. By the way, this blank is 3.5 inches wide. It's 5 inches long. Because we're making that tenon, we need that extra length. And I have a skew somewhere. So I need to use a skew now because this is a heavy duty one, right? So I can reach across here, come in at a little bit of an angle and undercut that lip. And I'm also going to put my tenon on there that's going to fit inside my chuck. I need that dovetail to hold it really strong. Okay, you can see now I have the piece of wood mounted in the chuck. I brought my tailstock up for support. So what I want to do is find the center on this. So I drew a line from point to point, thinking I'd be close. But the trick I really did is, see, I've turned the edges slightly. So now I know where my symmetry is. So if you have a zero-centered ruler, like the ones that I make and sell, you can line this up here. So there's 1 3/4, 1 3/4 there. And you can see, look, I was barely off on that line, so that's close enough for jazz. So why do I want the center? Because I'm taking a Shamrock that I got off the internet for free. And I did a couple sheets, or a couple different sizes just to play with it. By the way, a Shamrock is what represents the Irish, not a 4-leaf clover. That's a whole different thing. So if you want to honor everybody on their day, you use that. Don't use that. So anyway, we're going to take this now and lay it down here, and I want to bring this up as close to the edge as possible. And now it's just a simple craft project at this point. I'm centering this because these are identical, that's identical, so it's really nice and symmetrical except for that little stem right there. So we're going to take that, put it in place. The easiest way to do this is to take a pencil and draw this out. Okay, now it's drawn out and you can't see that, and neither can I. That's why I'm now going to take a Sharpie and make it fatter. And really the only one we have to worry about making fatter is this side, because as this turns towards you, this is the one you're going to see. So with that pattern set just like that, now we're going to start nibbling away the wood and work our way up to the black marks. I just realized I have too short of a, not wide enough of a tool rest because I could go off the edge. So one of the cool things Robust makes is a lot of different tool rests, and they have this really deep groove in there for your hand, which is awesome. But the other thing they make on their lathes, Brent is a pretty smart engineer. He's built a tool caddy on this side, and I can keep a bunch of stuff on here. My knockout bar, I have 2, 3, 4, 5 drive centers, 6 drive centers. I have an elbow, I have 3 tool rests in there, and even a wrench or a thing for my Easy Wood chuck. But now I'm going to go to this wider tool rest simply because it's really dangerous when you don't have enough tool rest on here and you want to flop off the edge with your tool. And I'm going to be using a bowl gouge to move some of this wood away, and I want to have room to swing out over here. So important thing now is you want to start your lathe up and get the speed set to where you can see the outline of the Shamrock the best. So different speed levels will make that look darker or lighter. And that looks pretty good on the camera right there. I like that. Oh, no, it's a little off now. Come back here, slow it down. Okay, so on the camera it's showing up pretty good, and I can see it with my eyes pretty well. The camera runs at 30 frames per second, so I have to kind of match that, the technical TV thingy. But anyway, so I'm going to take the bowl gouge, I'm just going to whittle down to those marks. And this is still spindle turning, but you're turning a lot of air, so speed is your friend. The faster you have the lathe going, the better the cut is going to be. And I'm not going pretty right now. We'll get pretty here in a minute. Okay, now we're getting closer on the drawing. We can see we're moving in, right? Now, this is going to get a little bit weird. We have to curve this thing a little bit later. And so this width here needs to be cut in tighter than you think it would. This width and this width here need to be pretty true to the lines. You can actually see it's not as round here. I didn't cheat enough on that. So I know it sounds a little bit odd, but what we want to do is on this one, we kind of want to come in about here to that line, and then this is going to work out because we have so much thickness here that we've got. So by the time I get it to there, this part is going to be at this part. Does that make more sense? By the time we get to this part, we're further in already. See, we've already lost some diameter, so that's why we need to stick with that line. Same with that one. Clear as mud, right? Okay, just give me a little more time here, and we're going to whittle it in, and then I'll start showing you how we do these really cool, sharp edges that come in on here. Those are tricky as all get out. Okay, now we've whittled this down to approximately where we need it. I mean, you can look here and we're edged fairly well. The detail that is difficult is this right here. What makes a Shamrock work is that really tight area where it dives in here. Well, what tool do you use to make that? Almost impossible. You're going to get a catch if you go in with the skew, if you go in with anything. Well, Easy Wood has come out with negative rake scrapers, and that's great on their square and round tools, but they have also come out with one on their point tool. So this is a perfectly sharp point, but it's recessed on all the sides. You can still get a catch, but this greatly reduces the chance that you're going to get into trouble. So what I want to do right now, I'm going to look at this again just to make sure. I'm going to come in here like so and start making this cut. And we're going to be cutting on both sides in a minute here, but you'll see how smoothly this works. I want to make sure that I'm right on center. Bring this speed up. Look at my diagram again, and we want to come in at this angle. So you just don't plunge it. We're just going to nibble our way in. You can see the tiny little shavings it takes off. It's scraping on the side. Isn't that beautiful? And it's also helped me reshape the clover at this point. Up on this one curve, I want to make it come in a little more like so. One thing I'm not going to do on this project is I'm not going to sand the wood that we're turning this dimension. I want to leave it rough. I think it's kind of a cool contrast. So now you can see we're getting that delineation of the leaves in the shamrock. So it's a straight line too. So that's nicer than having to make a curve or something. So I come in here, get a little too much cut, come back, whittle it away again, come down. So you can see how far I've pointed this into here. I mean, this is incredible. This tool really goes deep. And I've gone a little deeper than I probably should have gone, but that's okay. We'll have a very stylized looking shamrock now. This thing is so easy to use, it goes fast. Now you do wind up with a moment of limitation. You can only go in as far as that angle allows you to go in. But isn't that amazing? I mean, nice and smooth, no shaky hands, no disasters. Love this tool. Okay, you can see we're pretty close to our shape now, right? And we're going to be narrowing this down to do the stem in a minute, but we got to do that little heart-shaped dimple first, and that's why we're using the chuck. That's almost the only reason we're using the chuck, because it makes it possible now to come over here and work on this end and get rid of the dimple. We're not bringing the tailstock back after this. We're done. And so that little dimple, we just want to make a nice little curve. Kind of stay high, stay high, stay high, and then dip in. There we go. That's almost perfect. One more little cut. There we go. So now I'm just whittling away the wood because we gotta get rid of a lot of wood, because what we're working on right now is we're coming in here and we have to undercut to here. And this takes quite a bit. We'll use the Easy Wood tool to get into there. The reason my stem looks a little bit weird, makes this look like a shamrock tree, is because when I got this thin, all of a sudden this started wobbling and I thought, okay, let's just bail. But I like the fact that I'm leaving the wood on the outside rough and not finished, because that allows for that look. And I think it's a really neat dynamic to go between the really sanded face and the rough exterior. But you just want to take your time, because if you get too thin too quick, you might not be able to get into that type of shape. Okay, now I'm taking my zero-centered ruler and I am finding the center on this piece. I'm going to be real careful about this. So there's a mark that way, and then I want to come here and see where I'm going on this. That's about 1.5. Okay, so this is going to work out pretty good right there. So right here. So right here, I'm going to drill a hole so I can mount this with a screw chuck on the lathe. And it's very important that you're centered on this, because we want to hold this to where when I cut this side, it's going to be symmetrical. So right now this doesn't look like much at all, does it? But wait, there's more. The reason I drilled the hole is because we want to be able to make this beautiful surface, right? So how do we get this from fat little thing to this little thing? That's what the chuck is all for. So now we're turning on a different axis. So as I screw this in, it goes in there. It's going to hold it nice and tight. And now, look, we have the ability to start turning away this side. So this is like that. See? That's what we're going to do. We're going to remove this until this looks as good as this. So now, remember, we are bowl turning at this point. We have end grain on either end. So we're going to come in like we're turning a bowl. Our goal is to remove almost all this down to the middle. So it's going to take a little while to whittle it down, but it's going to be kind of fun. And if I had my tool rest at the right height, that would really help. You can't see the center till it starts spinning, right? Yeah, there it is. Okay. So we're just going to kind of come in here and just start whacking away at it. Then I'll come across now and start leveling it back out. And you're going to use the bevel on your tool to rub against the wood as you go. And a little bit of chattering you're hearing is that we're hitting air as we go. So this will take a little while, but we'll get there. Well, we sanded to 240 grit, and believe me, it's fun when you got a little thing like that spinning around whacking at you. Just take your time and be careful on the cutting and on the sanding, you'll be fine. Now, for the fun part, I'm using some hand-rubbed Danish oil here, and look how that brings out that amazing ambrosia maple grain. That is spectacular. Well, anyway, that is my take on how to turn a shamrock. I hope you enjoyed it. Until next time on Wood Turning, keep turning.
Tim's American Beauty was made by Robust Tools, America's premier lathe manufacturer. Quality hardened tool rests and live centers too. Robust. Built to turn wood. Enjoyed for a lifetime.
Easy Wood Tools, best in class carbide wood turning tools.